Hello everyone, today I'm going to walk through how to set up a Modbus RS485 connection using the Anybus gateway. So the Anybus gateway we have here is a ABC3090, and in this setup, the Modbus slave device we have is a net by the IO device. Part number module is 4RO, for relay output module. So the first thing to set up an RS485 connection is the wiring. The wiring is always the most important one. So things you need to check is you always make sure your RS485 bus is terminated with a 120 ohm resistor, and then always use a twisted pair for your data, and always make sure all your Modbus device is sharing the same signal ground. And sometimes it can be a bit confusing, like sometimes you will see A and B instead of plus and minus, and there's no international standard on whether A should be plus or minus. So for product out of Europe, Asia, usually A is plus, and for product out of USA, A is usually minus. So I would look for minus and plus instead of A and B. But if you only have A and B, then if your comms doesn't work, you can always swap it. So the key here is to make sure you identify the plus and minus, and also you make sure you share the signal ground for your bus, and always have 120 ohm resistor terminating your bus. So that's the wiring requirement for the Modbus setup. And then so with the every Modbus RS485 device has a different they all comes with different configuration method, so you have to always look at your menu. All right, so first thing, for the Anybus gateway we have the configuration port is actually done through its internal web server. So I have connected it to my laptop. You can download a HMS IP config from the website, and then it will help you to find the Anybus communicator configuration port IP address. And you just need to change your computer IP settings to make sure you can reach out to this IP address. And here we go. So now we are in. So the first thing to set up configuration to make sure you're selecting Modbus RS485, you select the right physical interface, and then four important part of the COM settings: baud rate, data bit, parity, and stop bit. So then you need to look at your Modbus slave device, like what are the default one and how you can configure it. For example, with the slave device we have, which is this module, and then everything is done through these switches on the front. This switch is over here. This switch on the front. So at the moment, I have everything set as a default. So in the menu, you can always look at things like search things like parity, and then you should be able to find a default settings that the default settings from the factory. So it's 9600, 8, none, and 1. 9600, 8, none, and 1. Okay, nice. So we got this part right. And then what we need to do is the next one to because for RS485 you can connect up to 32 devices on your network, and then you have to set each device on your network with an individual node ID, and sometimes it's called slave ID. So add one. So what's the node address I have? That's a good question. What's the node address I have? So I just checked these switches on the device. So number 2 is up. So number 2 is up. All right, let me see what number 2 up means. 4RO. This switch setting. So number 2 is up. So number 2 is up, so which means the slave ID currently set up should be 2. All right, let's try that. Apply. And so you can always name it. I would say name it for IO, for RO. And then the address mode usually start from 0 and 1 or multi-core modes. How to pick the right one for you? Usually I would look at the Modbus register map. So here's the Modbus register map. So usually that is coils because it's 1 bit, and input register, holding input register. So based on this looks more similar to the multi-core address I have. All right. So now based on what you're trying to achieve with your control system, and so usually what I would do is to make sure I can get the connection right first. So usually I would try to read a dummy data, for example, in here, which is the software version and model type. So it is an input register address 3001. So what I would do here is read input register, and the transaction name I can call it SW version 3001. So as you can see here, we're only reading 1, so which is okay. And then the update mode depends on the update mode. You can side click single shot or change of state on trigger. So it's all up to you. And then update time is like how often would you like to read this register. So by default it's 1 second, but for the Anybus gateway, apparently in here you can go under 3 milliseconds. To make it a bit more sensible, I just use 5 milliseconds. So at the moment, it is asks, or what if an IP side of the network is offline? I would say still continue pulling it or post, but because I don't have the if an IP side connected, so for this purpose, I would just keep it as continue. So I apply that. So if it works, I should have a happy green line here. Actually, it's quite happy, which means my settings are right and all my wirings are correct. So if you go to, there's another function here. If you go to diagnostics, so you can actually see the your serial bus traffic in here. And we are actually, you will see the gateway sending this traffic to the RS485, and then that's what is received. And if you look at IO data, you can actually see what is the actual IO data we are reading from the Modbus slave device. Okay, so this means everything's all good from our end. And then I would just, what I would like to do next is, so now you can just we can just keep doing the configuration based on this parameter table. Just do a few examples here. So for example, if we want to read the relay output, we can just do read coils, because those are coils, and start with 1. We need to read 1, 2, 3, 4. We need to read 4, and I keep it as 500 milliseconds, but you can adjust it based on your application. Oh, I changed the wrong one, did I? I can just go back and say read input register, which is that. Yep. And apply. So I actually need to add a new transaction, which is called recoil. And then I call this relay output 124. And then multi-con address is 1 because we start from 0, 1, and then we're going to read 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 in a row. And then key the update time, I can say 200 milliseconds. You can always adjust this based on your application. So click apply. And let's see, it's still happy, solid green line on the serial is still happy. And then we can look at the IO data. See, we have additional byte here. And at the moment, all the relay output is off. So yeah, and then you can just keep populating your transaction based on the data you require. And then we can just do this digital output. So we apparently the access is both read and write, and that's a holding register. So what I would do here is to click a read holding register. So it's called digital output, and then holding register address is 4002. So we just read 4002, and in here you see there's no 4003, so it's actually reading just one register, and then put it to 200 as usual. And so when reading this one, and also we can write holding register. So if we have a multiple one, you can always choose this, write multiple registers. And or you can just select write single register, depends on what you're trying to achieve. Okay, all right. Let's say digital output write multiple. So I just writing one, which is complete fine. So put it as 100 milliseconds, and then so now we have add all the transactions required for our application, and it's still solid green, which means it's quite happy. All right, so everything works, right? So it's a bit boring when everything works. So what could go wrong is it's making some errors here. So what could go wrong is, for example, if I put the parity to 7 data bit. So for example, it doesn't have this one match, and you will see the Anybus is flashing red, which means it's unhappy. And then if you go to your, let me do a clear. If I go to here, you'll see the gateway is trying to reach out, send data to the bus, but there's no one reply. So that's a typical symptom you can observe when you got your comms wrong. And so you just need to make sure you're changing your comms right. And then you probably can hear Raj in my background, but which is okay. Okay, so let's change it back to normal. Right, so it's solid green now, it's happy again. So let's try to mess up again. And so for example, the one I have is set at address 2. What if we put the wrong no address here? So let's make it 12. And then you click apply, and then you see it's unhappy again. And so why is unhappy? So now you see there's no, because it's not getting response, right? Because no one is with no ID 12, so that's why it's not happy. So so that's number 2. Put it back to number 2, and it should be happy again. See, it should be happy again. And there's another arrow we can create is if you go to the Modbus function of this one in your slave device menu, you always you always see what's the Modbus function it actually supports. All right, so what Modbus function it actually supports? That's a good question. It usually tells you what. Usually in the menu, it tells you what Modbus function it supports. You have to go through the menu yourself, and I'm just doing a good example on how to read a menu. Modbus function code. I reckon Modbus. No ID, that's general information, setting Modbus node, grounding, termination, communication setting. Let me see if we can find anything here about the com setting. So Modbus register, read write only, yep, got it. And okay. Yeah, this menu is not that great apparently, but usually a menu should tell you what are the Modbus functions supported by this device. And what Modbus function supported by this device? That is what Modbus function supported by this device. Okay. All right. It's not that easy to find, but just for demonstration purpose, like I know this device doesn't support Modbus function 22 and 23. So for example, if I change this one to 23, Modbus function 23, so let's see what it will behave. Okay, it's flashing red. Right? It's not solid red, it's just flashing red. And then if you go to diagnostic, if you look at I/O data, it doesn't seem to be happy. So it's all grayed out. Okay, so how do you do troubleshoot? So what you can do is, let me clear everything and start looking at it. So it tells you the error already. So all right, let's keep it loading. All right then. So which means so when we're trying to send out this one, there's a exception code on this. So data mismatch. So you see the gateway is quite smart to pick up all the invalid response. So okay, so you might need to know what's happening with this, right? So there's a really good website called Simply Modbus. Sorry, it's Simply Modbus. So about Modbus, so it tells you all the traffic, So usually it's 1101. So 11 is the first byte is always the no ID, so that's the no ID 02. And then the second byte is always your function code. So you see the ones get an error reply is this 17. 17 in hex is 23. So which means it's causing, this one is causing by this function 23. And